Hello, and welcome to The Listening Room, a spirituality podcast brought to you by SpiritSourceConnect.com. My name is Suzanne Goulet, and in each episode, I'll be speaking to you about new spirituality and how you can use it to improve your daily life. The following episode is part 2 in a series. If you haven't done so already, you may want to go back and listen to part 1 before moving forward. Enjoy. I am going to be talking today about time management. I had a part 1 of time management last week, and this is part 2. And actually, I think this is an extremely important part of time management, and that is time for contemplation, time for doing absolutely nothing, which rarely do we do. And it's probably one of the most important things we can do to eliminate chaos in our lives, to eliminate a lot of extra steps we don't have to take in various areas of our lives, and also to create shortcuts left, right, and center for so many things that will save us a lot of time. It's engaging your creative mind. You have a genius within, and unless you can stop all the activity and sit for a minute and just listen to your own creative genius, you're kind of going to be climbing uphill and making things a lot more difficult for you than they really need to be. So today we're going to talk about how important it is to sit around and do nothing. And I'm going to be telling you what doing nothing isn't, because you may already have an idea that you already spend plenty of time doing nothing, but I bet you're not. I bet you're describing a lot of activities that you think are doing nothing, but they're actually engaging your mind, and they are an activity. So I got people like, how can I possibly be doing nothing when there's always so much on my plate? And so I'm going to be talking to you, girlfriend, on how to cut back on a lot of extra stuff, find some shortcuts, raise yourself to a really high level, and find ways to have time to do absolutely nothing so that you can let your own creative genius within actually speak to you and whisper some fabulous ideas. Okay, so since this is a part 2 of time management, you might want to check out the part 1 of time management when we're done here, because I wanted to share as much information as I could with people around time management. Although it sounds like time management is like, oh, you're going to book me up and you're going to make me much busier and all of that. No, it's not about that. It's about you being able to identify your priorities in life, whatever that priority might be, and making it front and center in your plate. And just allowing yourself to make sure that you have time actually scheduled in your week for whatever it is that is your priority. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about last week so you can know, because it leads into exactly what we're going to be talking about this week. So I've had a lot of training with time management because I entered for a short time, 3 or 4 years, the real estate industry, and they actually provide a lot of excellent education around how to manage your time so you can be really effective. And I've carried a lot of those tools over into my life now, even though I'm not in real estate at all anymore. I do have several irons in the fire, though, and in order to keep them all moving forward, I make jewelry as a hobby, but I work on that weekly. My website, if you're interested in, it's all 100% gemstone jewelry at gouletdesigns.com. I also distribute essential oils. That's another sidebar that I do with Young Living Essential Oils, which is also part of my health regime. I work out regularly. I trade options on the market. I have time for play. I have time for my family and for my friends. I have time to continue to write and have a meditation group. I can do all of these things because I just compartmentalize my week and I just organize my time. And you might think that, oh my God, I'm going to have to work 14 to 16 hours a day. No, it's actually specifically for you people who always seem to be working 14, 16 hours a day and not getting anything done. And the reason is because you're spending a lot of time doing things that are not that important to you. And that's why you feel like you haven't gotten anything done. When in actuality, if you took the most important thing to do and you took a chunk of time and blocked it off and only did that, and I would even limit it to only 2 hours. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. is the most important time of the day for your creative and most productive brain cells to be functioning. It's great for future planning. It's great for problem solving. It's great for engaging creativity. So let's say you put the most important thing to you in that time slot, and you just did that 3 times a week. The most important thing to you would suddenly catapult into where you want it to be much quicker. Instead, what a lot of people do is they push aside the thing that's most important to them and they just take care of what is immediately on their plate that is often, they think, the easiest thing to do. But a teacher friend of mine once taught me, you got to do what's hard first so that the rest is all easy. And I had an example of that today. And that was getting all of my tax documents out to the accountant. Now, I have tried for the past couple of days to kind of do it while I'm doing 3 other things. Eating dinner and watching TV, the news. I love my Wolf Blitzer at 5 o'clock. And then try to do taxes at the same time. Nothing. Absolutely nothing got done. But last night I took time for contemplation. I took about 45 minutes to just sit on a couch without any music on, even only without any lights on, just my candles, to just reduce the exterior stimulation. And I got very clear guidance that today I will not do anything but just that. And you know what, folks? I got it all done. I got it all done at 4 o'clock, and I even had time for a beautiful walk outside after lunch. And it's been such a gorgeous day. I don't know where you are, but in Charleston right now, we have some awesome, awesome weather happening, and everything is blooming. And it seems like the birds are chirping so loud, and we got the windows open. So I was able to get all of this stuff done in one day when I thought it would normally take weeks. But I listened to some inner guidance. I cleared everything off, just focused on the one thing, and got that done. And that's really what time management is. Chunk off times to get your most important projects done. And then you want to also chunk off times where you're going to play, where you're going to have time with your family. You're going to have time with your kids. You're going to have time with your spouse or your primary partner or your friends, or you'll have time just for you. And when it gets to be the time that you will be with your friends, or you're going to be playing, or you're going to be by yourself, you're going to be totally guilt-free. You're not going to be thinking about 17 other things that you should be doing while you're with your friends or your family, because you know that you dedicated 2 hours earlier that day just to doing that one thing. So I'm just going to reiterate, this is all training that was given to me, that is provided for people who are very effective at accomplishing things in the world, and at the same time having time for their family, having time for their friends, and doing it without any guilt. I see 2 categories of people out there. One is one who's like a really high achiever and accomplishing a great deal all day, but they never seem to be accomplishing what they want, or they're stuck in a lot of busyness and feeling like they haven't gotten anything done at all. Usually that's a result of taking care of presented immediately in your face. That's called kind of reactionary time management. You just something, doorbells ring, you run. You get an email, you answer. Something comes at you and you get that done. That's not managing your time. If you dedicated an hour a day only to your emails, you would be able to focus on important projects when they needed to be done. And the other category of person is, I often see and experience, because I meet a lot of people who are interested in contemporary spirituality, and they have been exposed to quite a number of different spiritual studies, and their spiritual side is highly, highly activated. And so sometimes there can be a tendency to not really have your feet on the ground and not taking care of the practical aspects of life. With people who are highly activated spiritually, and this is all very good, there is a necessity again to be keeping a calendar, blocking off times where they want to get a certain project done or moved forward on, including blocking off times just for play or for family or for relationships, and then sticking to that activity. It's wonderful when you're first waking up spiritually and you find yourself following inner guidance and sometimes confusing all of the floaty thoughts in your mind with inner guidance. Oh, I think I'll do this. Oh, I think I'll do that now. And then, I'm sorry, but weeks and weeks and months go by, and you wanted to research, what school could I find locally where I can sign up for a class? And you've been saying that you're going to do that now for 6 months, and people are still hearing about that thing that is important for you that you're going to do. And yet it's not done because you haven't exactly set the time aside for you to be focusing on doing just that. This is what time management is all about. I'm going to let that go a little bit so that we can move on to today's subject. And like I said, you can download that broadcast for free. Now, let's move on. So after you have your project scheduled and you've got a calendar, and that might be the first step for you. Do you have a calendar? So many awesome electronics, portable electronics now. Your phone will have a calendar that will link to your computer, that will link to your emails, that will link to your to-do list. This is all a product of people in the business world who need these tools to effectively manage their time and their accomplishments. And they can go home at 5:30, 6 o'clock and enjoy their family kind of guilt-free. So if you don't have a calendar yet at all, even start with just a paper one. And there's a lot of great stuff at stationery stores. You just have to spend a couple of bucks. And something that's going to have a weekly view is what I really enjoy. I like to look at the whole week. Okay, what's going on this week? And then Monday morning, actually, what I do is look at what's already in the books for the week, and then I move things around if I can move them around. For instance, I would normally have spent time on one of my hobbies this week, but I put that aside, put it off to next week so that I could take care of some tax work and a couple of other things that I need to take care of regarding my house. So things got moved aside, and that's okay, because I still know that for that particular hobby that I spent 4 hours a week on, it just got pushed to next week. And that's perfectly fine. So get your calendar and work it regularly. It doesn't mean you always have to stick to it. I move things around all the time. But you do see the priorities that you set, and we do the best we can to stick to them. And when you get really, really good at hearing your inner guidance, you will be able to follow that. But I suggest that before you decide that you're really good at hearing your inner guidance, let's practice a little bit. Let's do some internal experiments. Let's play with spirit a little bit in our inner guidance and follow it a little bit before we decide we're going to be following it all the time. Because what is a little bit tricky here is, are you simply responding to what I like to call monkey mind? Monkey mind is swinging from the trees from thought to thought to thought. Your brain is full of various departments, and it'll jump from one to the other to the other to the other. Monkey mind is not who you want to be following. That is not spiritual internal guidance. And you want to be able to get to know the difference between the two before you start saying, I'm just following my inner guidance instead of my calendar. And here's another little aside. The thing that promotes more monkey mind is caffeine. Coffee, those buzz drinks. Pick your poison. There's all kinds of stimulants out there these days available for you. And what they're going to do is really activate your monkey mind. So let me move on now and explain to you, now that you're going to be having a calendar, you're going to chunk out times for priorities, and you're kind of like trucking along with following your calendar and getting stuff done. You're starting to feel like you're actually accomplishing things. And you're going to feel that reflection from the people around you, who will sometimes exclaim to you, wow, you're doing this? Wow, you're actually doing it. And you will actually be an inspiration for those around you. Because why? Because you're following your dreams. You're creating your life. You're actually getting it done. Because, I'm sorry, we have to play in time down here. Although you are a part of energy source, and you are a soul, and you are a spiritual being before you are a human being, you are a human being as well. And we are playing down here in space and time. And once we can wrangle and master space and time, things can get really fun down here. Don't you think?
This is Suzanne, and I want to thank you for listening. To listen to part 3 in this series, please feel free to move forward to the next episode. Thank you.